Hey everyone, it's Mopar Keith. We are in the middle of Iowa and we have found a survivor roadrunner. Let's go get the story.
It was like, holy cow, this is the real deal. Of course, at that moment, hadn't been able to check out any of the numbers. I'd seen the pictures,
Yeah,
but just the condition of the body and paint,
right.
I could just tell this was
Yeah,
the real deal,
the
and
real
I
deal.
wanted the
Yeah.
car.
Hey everyone, it's Mopar Keith, and today we are here with Al, and we're going to talk about how you found this '69 Roadrunner and what was so special about it, and what's your passion for finding this car. Um, so a little bit of background on you. You've always been a car guy, and you actually used to own a car that was very similar to this, and you had to sell it because of life reasons or whatever, and you always kind of regretted selling that, and you had a soft spot in your heart for this type of car. Tell me about when you started looking for this car.
So I wasn't looking for a specific car. I was just interested in the Mopar um, web pages, the forums. So I'm on Moparts probably every day and for B-bodies only. And I was bored, and I normally don't check the for sale ads, but for some reason that day I did. And the ad was there for this car, and it clicked a lot of boxes for me. It was well documented, it was original, and I had no reason to buy a car, but it just clicked for me.
Was it because it was a butterscotch Roadrunner, or just what was the allure to kind of pursue it at
The
that point?
the originality
Uh-huh.
and the documentation
Right.
really. I always call them yeah but type cars.
Okay.
That's a nice car, yeah, but it doesn't have the build sheet or broadcast sheet.
Okay.
um, or if I always hear people talking about my stuff and that's a cool car, yeah, but it doesn't have the original engine. And I've always liked stuff that didn't have those yeah buts.
Okay.
Yeah,
And like you said, this just checked all the boxes,
yeah.
and ends up that we're in Iowa, and the car was in Illinois.
Yes, sir. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And so
So it was,
you reached out to the guy.
yep, reached out, got a message back almost immediately, talked on the phone, got more pictures. I got excited,
Hmm.
and we went back and forth a little bit for a couple days, but I basically said I will be there this weekend
Hmm.
to look at the car. And
So one thing you had mentioned before is maybe the ad was up and then it was taken down, or
very quickly, yeah, and
after you inquired, or in between.
I'm not really sure. It disappeared very quickly, and I
Okay.
don't know how long it was on there. If I recall, he said it was less than a week
Less than a week, and
that it was posted.
you're all over it then.
Yep, and
Okay.
he seemed to be getting kind of frustrated, or just wasn't feeling this wholesale thing on Moparts.
Probably a lot of tire kickers, a lot of really dumb questions, and how what's your bottom dollar, and just the whole tire kicker thing.
Yeah,
And then here comes you, a serious buyer, and already he's frustrated after a few days of having it online.
yeah. I felt like I had to tiptoe around that a little bit.
Okay.
Nice guy, but I had to, let him know that I was serious,
Right.
and that if the car was what he said it was, and upon my inspection, I'd pay up for the car.
For the first, I mean, you've seen pictures, but you first saw the car, like you opens up the garage and you see the car for the first time. What was your reaction or your feelings?
It was like, holy cow,
Uh-huh.
this is the real deal. Of course, at that moment, hadn't been able to check out any of the numbers. I'd seen the pictures,
Yeah.
um, but just the condition of the body and paint, and
Right.
I could just tell this was
Yeah.
the real deal,
The
and
real
I
deal.
wanted the
Yeah.
car.
Yep.
Yeah,
So at that point, you and the owner had kind of laid out some paperwork, and the engine wasn't in the car. It was
correct.
like partially in the trunk or something,
It was
or
on a like a roll around stand,
okay.
and
All right. So you were able to really look at the VIN number and everything and
yeah.
just verify, yes, it is the original engine, but it was in 100 pieces.
Well, it was all assembled. The carbs and everything. The carbs, I don't recall if they were on it or not. I don't think they were.
Okay.
Um, but it was basically a complete engine. The front accessories weren't on it, um, but it was just there. Yeah,
So the trunk was full of all the smalls and stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
The air cleaner,
All right.
things like that. Yeah,
So you were able to like see the paperwork, look at the VIN number. It's got a fender tag, the build sheet. I mean, it's all there. And the car was raised in California,
hmm
and so like right away you can tell it's a solid car. We're not looking at a rot box or anything like that.
yeah. I couldn't find any rust. Just in this little, basically one car garage shoved
Mm-hmm.
up against the side. And he said, I'm not going to pull this out unless you're serious. And
Sure.
I said, well, I've got the down payment with me.
Right.
I
Right.
need to see it
Right.
outside.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
there was stuff all over it and the top of it, and we
Uh
just
huh.
pushed it out then.
Rolled it out. Now you showed me some pictures. Was that the day that you were there? Because I remember a picture of it out in the driveway, and you could tell the front end was up, so that no engine in it. And so at
I
that point,
Yeah, I think some of those he had taken
okay,
prior. I took some also when it was outside, but they're all pretty similar
yeah,
shots. Yeah,
yeah. And so you made the deal,
yeah. Away I
and
went.
so you got in the truck, and between your house and my house is my shop. So you had kind of teased me with it a little bit, but I didn't know exactly what you were getting into.
hmm
And so your first stop was the gas station, maybe, and then my shop.
Well, yeah, I don't know that I even stopped at a gas station. I wanted to get home, and I wasn't going to pull in, but I said to myself, Keith would want to see this car.
Yeah,
We had gotten together on the Charger project, and I had seen a lot of the rare cars in your shop, so I was pretty enthused and knew you'd want to see it. And I literally said to myself, I'm 500 feet away, and I got to show him this car. So
yep.
I whipped in, and you guys were busy. All the guys who were moving cars. I don't know if you were getting ready for a show or
We're
what.
every day is busy. I
Yeah.
mean,
So I felt kind of bad about interrupting your day, but I had to pull in.
oh yeah, I would have stopped no matter what. And so you pull up out in the parking lot, and your trailer has the big door,
Yeah.
and you just whipped open all the doors,
Yeah.
and there it is.
Yeah. And I think you were skeptical at first because you really dove into a few things like that nobody else would think of. Like you had me open the trunk and make sure the right nuts were on the taillight bezels, that stuff like that had never been
Right,
really
right.
messed
Since it
with.
was supposed to be a survivor, let's look at some things like make sure the car wasn't repainted,
Yeah.
or it had, I wanted to make sure it had a Dana in it because all of these cars had a Dana,
Yeah.
and it appeared to just be a legit car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it had at that time it had the H wheels were not on the car. These are the heavy duty H stamped H wheels, and their specific size also for the '69 model car. They're 6 inches wide,
hmm
not 5.5 or not 6.5. They're 6 inch wide 15s, and so those wheels were separate,
No,
or
those wheels were on the
they
car.
were on the
They
car.
had old tires on. They were brand new tires, but
They're
probably,
really old.
yeah, like
Okay.
probably, I don't know, 25, 30 years old. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
And they were very old. And then when we got the car down to you, we put the red
The
stripes on it,
red
and you
lines. Yeah.
you built a spare set.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
So, between you and I, we found other wheels, and okay, that's what it was.
yeah. But it has all 5 original
Right. I
H
remember
wheels.
looking at the spare tire, and it's an original wheel, and then we've date coded all the other wheels.
Yep.
They're original motor wheels.
Yep.
And all right, so one super unique thing about A12 cars is they all came with a special wheel. It was a heavy duty wheel. It was a 15 by 6 built by Motor Wheel Company. And this right here, this H, and it's not, this H isn't just unique to the A12 cars. They made them for other applications through the late 60s and early 70s. But these cars right here, all A12 cars were born with this. And then right here on the valve stem area, there's a date code and an assembly plant. And so these were the factory original Motor Wheel Company. And a couple things that are unique also when you're looking for these wheels, the valve stem, the rim was always lined up with this nub, and they were always a three nub. They have another style wheel that has 4, but H code wheels and the correct ones had this style rim and center section, and it was always lined up with the lug nut and the nub and 3 nub. And then, of course, the red line tires. So you got it home, and then when some time passed, then we made time for it at my shop, and it didn't run. The engine's not in it. So we got it back to my shop, and the whole purpose was to preserve the car, not restore it, but preserve it. So during the preservation, we encountered some problems and some stuff that had to be replaced. Um, can you tell us about? I mean, I know, but
Yeah.
let's tell everybody what we encountered and some of the parts that were just they got to go. What had to be done?
Yeah. Most of the hard parts, engine parts and everything were good. I know you had to do some work, obviously, to the carbs and things like that, but the carb's been a good share of time in Florida in the humidity.
Okay.
So there's quite a bit of mold and mildew on the inside. The headliner had fallen down a seam and it was mildewy and pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So we replaced the carpet and the headliner. Soft parts, I think that's it, wasn't it? The dash was perfect.
Yep.
Just needed cleaned up.
Right. Right.
And so that's pretty
So
much it.
we totally cleared out the interior except for the dash. We did not pull the windshield, and we did not pull the dash shell out. We did pull the gauges out and did some repairs.
Yeah.
But the interior had to be just, I guess you could say, gutted.
Mm-hmm.
So we pulled all the door panels off, the seats, the carpet, ripped the headliner out. And when you pull out these old headliners, all the insulation is falling down. So it's basically like just put your hoodie up in a vacuum and you rip the headliner out and all the trim that's associated with it. And then we just delouse the interior. And then the intention was to just put all new headliner and the door cards, front and back, the armrests, the seats, just really moldy, but it cleaned up beautiful.
Yeah.
And the carpet, yeah, we thought about saving it, but it was just so far gone,
Yeah.
so far gone.
Yeah.
And it would have always smelled.
Yeah.
And so you want to enjoy the car. You don't want to have, every time you get in the car, you don't want to gag over the smell of that mold.
Yeah, that was an intent of mine that I wanted to drive the car.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
That's why we had a different set of wheels, because
Yep.
so we could keep the poly or the polyglass or the bias plies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then put some regular modern day radials on it.
Yep. And that also meant then just more for safety, brake lines, and redid the brakes, wheel cylinders, I believe, some things like that.
Did we do the gas tank?
Yes, we did the gas tank too.
Gas tank, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what we did in the engine and then the transmission.
Okay.
So there's a story behind that as well.
Yeah, it does not have the numbers matching transmission.
Okay.
I knew that going in. That's the only but that I'm aware of. Others, I'm sure a couple other things, but that was a downside. But it does have a correct 69 date coded 727.
And it's a Lynch Road coded
yes
VIN on it. It just says the first and the last of the numbers. It's 9A, so it's a 69 Lynch Road transmission, 440 transmission.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I know a little bit about the story, but who found the transmission?
Galen.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know, Galen found the transmission for some of the previous owners,
Hmm.
and that came with the car. So that was in there. It's kind of cool. There's some crayon markings from a transmission shop in California.
Right.
Maybe you'll get a shot of
Yep.
those that
I believe it has a date on it too.
notes. Yeah,
Yeah, like 82, 83.
yeah, yeah,
And here's an interesting story that I found out. I did some investigative journalism on this kind of
yeah.
thing. And so I called everybody involved and went back as far as I could. And so one of the owners was an electrician by trade, and he had a buddy who ran a transmission shop. And so there was a deal made. Now we don't know exactly why the original transmission disappeared. Like maybe it was actually exploded,
Mm,
or maybe it was just a good used one to replace it. And at that time, they didn't care about numbers matching.
mm-hmm.
But the electrician traded some work for some transmission work.
Oh,
And you
okay.
can imagine back in the early 80s, like, doing a transmission job on these could have only been a few $100s.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't know if the guy wired in some lights and outlets and then here's your transmission, but
yeah.
interesting that people could barter
Mm-hmm.
for a transmission job on such a rare car.
Yeah.
But this was in California and in the early. So we talked about the transmission being replaced, and the Wilshire Center transmission, West Olympic Boulevard, Los Angeles. Right there's their sticker, and right there's like maybe some service record, 322 of 72, and the mileage was 38,901. In Maynard, possibly the technician's name was right there, but that's all original, untouched. So they traded for that, and then all of these people involved were friends with Galen Govier, and the Spring Fling and the Western Car Club or something like that in California had started the Spring Fling,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were all friends. And Galen would go out there for that show, and just through contacts, he had a transmission, so he made it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And then, yeah, the car, and I don't know where you'll head with it, ended up in Illinois
hmm.
through all that.
Right, right.
And
So sold at 5 points in California, and then went to Ken here in the Midwest, then bought by a fella that took it to Florida, and then back to Illinois, and then now to Iowa.
yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
The the previous owner, the guy I bought it from, his dad actually owned the car,
Okay.
and he was from Florida. Um, and the story I got from the son was when the dad purchased the car, he was looking for the nicest A12 he could find,
Hmm.
and he ended up with this car.
Right,
So,
right. So it could have been a Super Bee or a Roadrunner, but at the time, this was a fresh California car.
yeah, yeah.
Not low mileage though. What's the miles on
I
it? Like
believe it's 47,000
47
miles.
thousand
Yeah,
and change.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So
it shows on the car. There's garage rash and a door ding here or there, and
mhm.
things like that. It was driven. Yeah,
Yep.
it was driven.
It was definitely driven. Now, one of the there's a Sean and a Troy that are involved in this story, and I talked to these guys, and they remember driving the car.
Mm,
It's such a memorable car that when we start talking about it, he's like, "Oh yeah, I drove that car. It
mm.
still had." At one point in the early 80s, it still had the original bias-ply tires on it.
Oh wow.
And the spare, he recalls that the spare was in mint condition,
Hmm.
like never used at
Wow.
that time.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Very cool.
So, um, okay, so the car is at my shop, and we talked about the transmission and the engine. We didn't know what was going on inside the engine. You said like the cylinder heads were on it, and I can't remember if the intake was even on
Intake
it.
was on
It
it.
was intake
Yeah,
was on it.
yeah. My
So
actual
yeah,
thought was that I would put the engine
okay,
in, and in the beginning, and then
right,
very quickly I realized, this probably needs to go to your shop to really make sure it's done right. And you know, I could have stabbed it in there, but it wouldn't have been the right thing to do for me.
Sure,
So
sure. And there were so many other things that need, fuel and brake system and interior
yeah,
and potentially wiring and the whole
yeah,
situation.
yeah.
So we had it in the shop. We decided let's just tear it down and make sure that it was built right. And I ended up, did I pull the pistons out of it and everything?
I think so. You did a lot of work
I
to
think
it
we went all the way through it.
because I
And
think you found some things that you weren't happy with. I don't recall what they were,
okay.
but
Well, I did take pictures of like everything because we live a couple of hours apart. So it wasn't like you were just going to stop by every day.
mm-hmm,
So as I did the process, I took pictures of every little thing. And then, of course, I wanted to start getting the car, make sure it was registered and make sure that everything was correct. So I had been in touch with Darren, who runs the A12 registry,
mm-hmm,
and you had also been in touch with Darren, and we were just like checking all the numbers and date codes on intakes and cylinder heads and water pump housings. And we wanted to make sure everything was just so I took the engine apart, rebuilt it, we ran it on the test stand, and early in the car's life, the 6 barrel got replaced with the 4 barrel when possibly the second or third owner had problems with the 6 barrel. So they had put a 4 barrel on it. And so it spent a lot of its life, the driving life, with a 4 barrel on it. So the original carburetors were gone. We have a set of 1970 carburetors on it now.
yes,
And we put the whole engine together. And there was no saving the original engine paint because that was long gone,
mm-hmm,
but the original paint on the air cleaner lid.
mm-hmm,
And we decided not to touch it because it still has the decals on it.
yep,
And so we decided to leave that. And it's kind of crusty, but it's so original
yeah,
that we decided to leave that.
yeah,
And so once it got restored, or well, we buffed the paint, we did the interior, and we started driving
preserved
it.
it, yeah,
And once we did all that, we were like, hey, we have a special opportunity to take it to the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals in Chicago. And this particular year, what was it, 23? Or so there was an A12 reunion.
mm-hmm,
Okay. So A12 reunion. And I mean, we just had to get it there.
mm-hmm,
So you brought it up with your box trailer, and the first time you were ever there,
yeah,
and so we helped you get it in the building and parked and everything. And then Friday on move-in day was quite the day.
yeah,
It's super exciting day because everyone's meeting each other and everyone's seeing old friends, and we're seeing cars that we've never seen before, and it's just a lot of excitement.
yeah.
And you've never been there before.
That was my first trip
Yeah,
to
like
McCacken
like you'd never been there ever,
ever.
with or
No,
without a car. Okay,
exactly. So
so I helped you get kind of acclimated. We parked the trailers next to each other, and so that was the year I took up the AAR
yes,
that year
yep, it
too.
was the black tie,
The
I think,
Yeah, the
event.
black and white event.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, so we pull in and it's just chaos. So we're just like, just park the car over here, and right away Lee Hodge spotted the car.
mm-hmm,
And so Leland Hodge, he runs Hodge Restoration, and it was great to see him. He had a few cars there that year too.
yeah,
And so Lee started he was like circling the car, like blood in the water.
mm,
He was just a shark. And he spotted the car. And then as the weekend progressed, I think it was Saturday, they were doing like celebrity pick awards or whatever. And so sure enough, Lee came back and the Hodge Restoration Award
yeah,
went to you,
yes, yeah,
and we have some pictures of that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was pretty cool.
That was just amazing. The whole thing was an amazing experience. Just I'm sold on that show now. I have to be
Right.
going back.
Yep.
So it was so fun to participate in it, and a lot of people just walk by the car. Maybe your casual type uh,
Hmm.
muscle car fans. It's got a dent here and some garage rash, and they're like, "Why is that car here?" Even
Right.
and then the people that know, this is a really original car. Just they get it,
Well
and
received for sure.
yes, yes,
For sure.
yeah,
And really, there's no bad parking spots at the Muscle Car Nationals, but it was there's kind of a back row and a front row, and they actually had your car, what I would call on the front row,
Yeah.
and it was on one of the main aisles right in front.
Yeah.
And there was another Kenton. He lives here in Iowa, and
Minnesota.
oh, it's Minnesota.
Well, it might be
It's
northern Iowa, maybe. I'm not
close.
sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
anyway, he has a butterscotch Roadrunner also, and that's a whole nother story with that fella.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so there was two butterscotch Roadrunners, and then one or two butterscotch Super Bs.
yeah.
And what was there, like 20 A12 cars or
Something
something
like
like
that.
that?
Yeah, some beautiful examples.
Yep. You
Beautiful
know.
examples.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you look at any videos, you'll see your car, and people, tons of people have taken videos of that.
yeah,
So, but that was great. So I think we showed it. We showed it at a couple local shows
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Did we ever take it to Dubuque?
No, it's not been at Dubuque. It was at
Okay,
Belvedere.
we took it to Belvedere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
it
then I've
hasn't been at
taken it to
Dubuque.
a few local shows here.
Okay.
But again, unless you really know, I've seen people, just kind of, shake their head. Why is
Why?
that car here?
Yeah, why not repaint it
Yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And the car, as long as it'll never be restored. It'll stay just
it
as
has
it
to be.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're only original once,
yeah,
and such a true saying.
yeah, yeah,
So,
for sure.
and we've measured the paint, and we got a few flaws and some measurements off of different areas of the car.
Yeah,
But it's worn pretty thin on the fenders from a lot of people leaning over it
yeah,
and working on it.
yeah. Pinstripes almost gone. Um,
Almost not even visible
yeah,
in most places.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you did discover a spot where there'd been some touch-up work done, I
Yeah,
understand.
so we
Yeah.
found out that at some point when the car came from California to the Midwest, Ken uh, owned the car for a time. Like maybe he was going to fix it up and try to resell the car. And uh, part of what he did was he found a spot of paint that was maybe worn through and had a little bit of surface rust. And I probably wouldn't even call it rust because the car lived in California. So Iowa rust and California rust. And anyway, he sanded a small area and painted it, and the paint matches incredibly well, but you can tell because it's just a little bit shinier than the rest of the car.
Hmm.
And then when we went around and measured the paint, you could tell it was like 1 or 2 mils thicker than the adjacent areas. But otherwise, I'd say 97% of the car, all original paint.
Yeah.
There was only like a section of like a foot square
Yeah.
that he's resprayed, and it probably wasn't even that
So
bad.
we've talked about how original the paint is on this car, and we're not going to go through and just document everything in this video, but I do want to show you. So this is a paint mill gauge, and we're going to zero it out here. So, oh, I guess it is zero. Okay, so 0, and then we'll make sure it's on mils. All right, so there it is. So we'll just pick a couple spots, and then we do know that one part of the car got repaired, so we'll check that. All right, so there's the side. So what do we got? We got 1.2, and then I know there's a thicker spot here. So there's 2 mils. Now right here, this car is just incredibly worn thin, and you can just see the ghost line of the pinstripe on it. But right here on that super thin spot, so we've got 1.03, so it's barely even the primer. And then here's the top of the fender, so that jumps up to 3.4. So you can imagine as the guy spraying the car, it's just a human, just guy spraying it, and he's just trying to pump out units. So a lot of thick paint in this area, and obviously the top of the fender isn't worn, but right here on both sides, it's worn really, really thin. Let's go to the back of the car. All right, so here's the back of the quarter, and once again, guy spraying the car. It should be pretty thick right here. Let's see what that does. So 3.8 mils thick. Here's the bottom of the car. So 2.05. Now we did go through and we did buff the car, but we didn't wet sand it because we already know the paint is super thick. So we did, Chris and I went through and we buffed the car, cleaned the paint really well. Now, when we were cleaning the paint, we noticed that there was some something weird back here had been resprayed, and through conversations with the previous owners, we come to find out that there was a rough spot here that they wanted to clean up. So we've got a dull spot there. So 4.37 and 4. So there's two different areas here, and then right here, let's check this guy out. So 4.1, and then just over here, 4.47. So lots of paint in this area. So in just visually, you can tell it's been repaired, but absolutely original paint. And then right here, this side has a little more stripe left on it, so you can see right here. And then this is a hand painted stripe. So these Roadrunners would come with a double lined vinyl stripe or a hand painted stripe. So you can see this is absolutely all original all the way to the front, but there's no stripe left on the left side.
So yeah, the car does have a few of those yeah buts, but
I'd say the transmission is the only but
yeah,
because otherwise the car it's rock solid in numbers and the
the
mechanical and
documentation,
everything,
yeah,
the documents, yeah.
and then I do have a set of 69, the correct carbs for it, and
Yep.
the plan is to get that back down to
Yep.
your shop, and
Just try to make the car as correct as can be.
yeah, Yep.
It'll increase the value of the car, and just knowing that we've done everything possible
yeah.
to make the car just as correct as can be.
There are a few things. The alternator, I did find the correct date coded alternator case,
Yeah.
and Paul
Yep.
Jacobs restored
That's
that.
that's Dixie Restorations, right?
No,
Or
Paul Jacobs. He's in Indiana. Did that.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
sure if Dixie is doing them anymore, but anyway, Paul did
Okay.
the correct alternator
Then I
for
think
it.
we had the starter restored also.
No, I'm looking for a starter, a date
Okay,
coded
so
starter.
maybe we just have some generic
Yeah, I
starter,
think we,
but it's an original style starter.
Yes,
We
yep.
didn't put a mini starter
No,
on it.
no, but I'm looking for, so if anybody has one, I'm looking for
Right,
a
right,
correct starter for it.
right. And then at some point in the car's life, it had headers on it.
Yes.
And so we did take it to the local exhaust shop, and they just made front pipes.
Yeah, and they kept most of the H pipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a small section that ties into the rest of the original
Yeah.
exhaust. There is some question around the tips. Being a California car, it was sold new in California.
Right.
We're thinking it should have had turn downs, and it
Right.
does have chrome tips welded on it.
Right. So from looking at the fender tag and the build sheet and the window sticker, the code for a California noise reduction is N97. And even though this car was born or should have been maybe born with N42 chrome tips, it has an N97 noise reduction. And that in some cases it would mean a silenced air cleaner, but you can't do that on an A12 car or an N96 car of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the only thing they could have done was put turn downs on this. So A12 with turn down pipes for noise reduction.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a pollution reduction. It was just noise pollution.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now it has chrome tips on it.
Yeah.
And you got to have chrome tips on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like them on there. They look good.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to look through some of the paperwork.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll go through that, and then we'll look at some of the finer points of the car.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. I know you haven't seen a lot of the originals, so I thought maybe we would grab those quick. You've seen scans, but there's the original window sticker.
Right. So absolutely untouched original. So ripped at the top where it was taped, Lynch Road car, of course, and right there, El Monte, California, at 5 Points Chrysler, Plymouth. And so through the people I've called and contacted, they all backed that up. They didn't even know that we had this, and everyone said, yeah, it was sold at 5 Points.
Wow.
So that once again backs up where it was sold originally.
Yep.
So
Pretty cool. I love that document, the original build sheet, broadcast sheet.
Yeah.
not much on it as far as options,
I
but
mean, yeah,
well
these
documented.
A12 cars are just stripped down Roadrunners, and they're all programmed to be 3D3 cars. But right there's that M code.
Yep.
Right there, that's your 440 liftoff hood package.
Yep.
Black interior, black wheels, of course.
Yep.
AM radio.
Yep.
So the R11, yeah, right there, R11 for just regular
radio.
I mean, the next step down is radio delete.
Right.
So, bench seat, column, shift,
Shift.
automatic.
Yeah.
Just super stripped down, but that's all they were.
Yeah.
That's all they were, no frills.
Yeah.
So that's
Pretty cool.
That's great. That's great.
Then there's some copies and then of registrations, I guess they are, from California and one of the previous owners in California.
Right. And as we know in California, once a car is registered, that license plate stays with the car. And this does have the original black plate with it.
Yep, the ZKR 176 and the,
Yep. So we have that.
oh, I got a Noel on the front.
But we do have the original license
black plates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a huge seller when you're doing a California car.
Yep.
Here we have a registration date of 1979. We have another one for Fred in 1976.
And this is kind of interesting. It's a certificate of non-operation.
Right.
So I think you found some history on that.
Yeah. So a fellow named Chris saw the car sitting maybe at the entrance of a storage unit. And the story that I got is the proprietor of the storage facility wouldn't allow a non-running car to be stored there, so the car sat outside for some time. And Chris and this fella just met it and made a deal to buy the car. And so that's everything is kind of accounted for is about that. Yeah. And at the time, the 6-barrel wasn't being cooperative. It would crank and crank and crank, and they couldn't get it going. And so between Chris, Sean, and Troy, this whole thing culminated into putting a 4-barrel on the car. And at that point, that's when the original carburetors disappeared.
Okay.
And it's hard to say, did they just get lost to time, or someone probably sold them or whatever, but for a time, they had a 4-barrel on it. And then that's why we now have the 70 carburetors on it, but we have an original set ready to go.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, at a time, non-operation certificate, which is interesting. So they wanted to keep it registered, but they didn't want it to fall off the radar or something. So
I guess I don't know how it works in California, but they kept the plates with it and everything.
Yep. And this is we got two separate 1982 and 1979 in non-operation 83.
Yep.
So yeah. So right here, here we have the invitational certificate from the Muscle Car Nationals. Here we actually have, this is a warranty card. This is the original warranty booklet, and most likely the original owner, Richard Henry Beasley, right there, 6/20 of 69 from 5 Points Chrysler Plymouth. So,
yeah, that's interesting. And I don't recall right now, but Darren Stanky let me know what he thought the build date of the car was. And I believe it's early June. I want to say June 6th. So the car was built and shipped very quickly. It was ordered, special order.
So built early June, and right here, June 26th.
Yeah, it made it to California very quickly and on the road.
Yep. So there's that. We have a lot of just original glove box stuffings, just stuff like that. And of course, this is what we do now, is we make lots of copies of the original build sheet and window sticker for, if anything were to happen to the original documents.
Yep.
So that kind of covers that.
Yep.
So, the original, or these were the original.
They came in the envelope. I think they might be, I don't know. I think they might be repops. I don't know.
Yeah, they're in really nice shape, but anyway.
Yeah.
Cool.
My door, forgot that. We might have to do it again. My door's open.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yep. There we go. There.
So these hoods are kind of heavy, but interestingly enough, if you pick it up in the center, you can do it by yourself.
Yeah, I do it by myself. I grab under I spread the support and then just.
Yep, you can do it yourself. Yeah. All right, so here it is. Mostly original, but for preservation and making the car run, we had to rebuild the engine. We had to replace the hoses. We had to replace the belt. We just have to do some things. So new date-coated hoses. Didn't you tell me that we have some NOS heater hoses from Darren?
I do.
Okay, so at some point, it almost feels like you want to put them in a climate-controlled box and never use them.
Yeah.
But we do have some NOS heater hose from Darren, so God bless him for that.
Yeah.
All right. This is one thing that is just fascinating to me. Fresh Air Hood cars, and this stands for Dodge and Plymouth lift-off hood cars for 69, and Dodge and Plymouth Trans Am cars, and that's TA and AARs. This right here, this extra umbrella, this extra area right here is Fresh Air Hood cars only, or fiberglass hood cars. And the reason being is there is no protection from rain. So if you think about it, TA, AAR, or Dodge and Plymouth lift-off hood car, there's no protection from that rain to go in here. So they designed this extra umbrella. Now other N96 or air grabber hood cars, they wouldn't have this extra lip right here. So that makes this right here super unique and rare because they were only on the super high performance cars. Now, we chose not to replace any of this. These are absolutely the original decals. These are reproduction wing nuts, but these decals right here are the original. And it even kind of looks like this one's a little bit crooked, and there's a lot of reference material on where these go, but sometimes they're crooked.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reproduction ones don't have a black ring. You see the black ring around this. The reproduction ones are kind of a reddish orange ring. So even the reproduction stickers are wrong. We messed around with trying to maybe replace the seal, and at this time we just chose to leave it because it's still not completely falling apart, but we chose to leave this seal. Original radiator, and we didn't even have this thing record or anything. It was just original and clean enough to keep. Things that I definitely wouldn't do on this is I would not repaint anything. You can see the squish right here, so where the seam sealer came out, that absolutely is perfect. There's the hood pin with the heater hose. These are the original ones. So original heater hose clamp. Now over here are some unique A12 things that we chose to just leave. The ignition coil is working, and we left the original ignition coil there with the date code and the part number and the wiring. Some of the wiring we did have to fix up, and this did get moved around because for a while they had a 4-barrel on this, and so we had to change the wiring back and fix that. And then here's for the idle stop solenoid, which is on the left side of the carburetors. But this is what energizes that idle stop solenoid, and it does work. We verified it, and I did a video on that one point that idle stop solenoid does work. You turn the key on, hit the gas pedal, the solenoid will extend. When you turn the key off, it will retract. So the idle stop solenoid works, and it's adjusted good.
I have to say, compared to my other A12, this thing runs. The 6-barrel is unbelievably tuned.
I did my best. Yeah.
It bumps over and starts. It doesn't diesel. My other car did all of those
And
things.
that idle stop solenoid helps that because it allows the throttle plates to go absolutely flat. So I do want to take this off so everyone can see what these do look like under here.
Now, these work so good, I'm nervous about taking them off and putting the
Right.
originals on.
So original A12 box lid. Now this is a reproduction air filter element. but they've gotten to where the air filter element is reproduced really well. These are stamped correctly, and it's a nice soft rubber. There are some other examples out there where the stamping isn't right. It's hard plastic, it's the wrong color. And did we have an original filter?
No.
I had an NOS one that I got from Jeff, and like when you put them side by side, I mean the original's of course dirty, but these are super exact. I really like them. Do we have the breather connected over there?
Yeah. Do you want me to pull
Just
the whole
pull
cap?
the breather right off the valve cover. Is usually the easiest. Okay. Is it staying?
You got it?
Yep, I got it. Okay. So these carburetors are not restored, they're just rebuilt. So you can see the finish is really dull and it's worn off, and the part numbers are gone, and they would have a decal on the carburetors, or on the secondary vacuum pods, they'd have decals, and those are long gone. But you can see on the fuel metering or the distribution block, these are original, and it even has the original clips on the vacuum lines right here. So a lot of originality. You know, I would never change that. And then, of course, the choke is hooked up. A lot of times we just disconnect the choke, but the choke works great, so we're just gonna leave it on there for right now. We did have to replace the kickdown linkage because it was missing.
Yes.
And then also that goes along with the story where this was turned into a 4-barrel, and so the 6-pack linkage and everything was just gone, along with the carburetors. So who is it? A&A
Yes.
transmission. They had the correct 6-pack linkage.
I
And
believe
so-
Hoffman's manufactures it, but everything was out of stock. I couldn't, and A&A was the only place I could find it at that point when we were looking.
Yeah. So this is a reproduction, an exact reproduction of the original, and the original solenoid there, the idle stop solenoid, and then the clip right there, but still original wiring. No reason to replace that. So we did send out the master cylinder to brake and equipment warehouse, and they restored that. And then you had mentioned that the alternator had been restored. And then we probably have a Tony's fan clutch on there, so it's an exact reproduction fan clutch. And then, of course, the fender tag. So some things about the fender tag that are really special or different is Lynch Road tags were not painted in place like a St. Louis car or Hamtramck car. The fender tags were always hung by a wire, and they just got like a haze of paint on there. And then later, when the car was being assembled, they put the fender tag in place. So that's why a lot of times you'll see the fender tags hardly have any paint or no paint on them. But this one is very original. It's got the R for the inspector mark right there, and it's got another, maybe a P or a D for an inspector mark there. And then it's not folded. You know, like the other assembly plants, they would bend it up and paint under it and then bend it back down, so it would always have that crease. Once again, Lynch Road tags did not have that. And so right there, RM23 E63, because it was programmed as a 383 car, but then right there it has the A12. So, and then 7X stripe. So very cool. We left what was left of the original emissions decal. So we could buy a reproduction and stick it on there, but it would look out of place. So we chose to just leave what's left of the original emissions decal. Once again, seam sealer, and you can see how the factory, there's dirt nibs in the paint. And so that's just the way Chrysler was. They didn't spend a lot of time making it pretty. So whenever we restore cars, they get over restored. We try to recreate the seam sealer in here, of course, but it's always painted nicer.
Yeah.
And then also you can see the core support number right here. So A9, and a lot of times they would just transverse the characters. But there's the VIN number right there. So it ends in 786, whatever it is, 788. Yeah, so you can just see the stamping right there. So, but yeah, all rebuilt engine. It runs pretty good. Headlights. So you found these on eBay?
Actually, I found them on, for B-Bodies only. A guy had a stash of them, and 2 of them were the original headlights, and then I had to find two more wide flute.
Right, and I remember we had like one burned out one and one that was kind of hazy or whatever,
Yep.
but these headlights, they're originals, because now if you can still buy headlights for these old cars, but they would always read like Wagner or General Electric or halogen, and they would have tighter flutes.
Yes.
So these are the wide flute lights, and they're very period correct for this car. So we can keep. I mean, if you're going to spend the money on the red line polyglass, put the right headlights in it. Let's talk about the trunk on this amazing Survivor car. Everything in here is original except for the trunk mat, and trunk mats are just, if you find an original one, it's going to be shredded. So let's talk about a few things in the trunk. Right here is where the original body stamping is. So this is your VIN number right there. So that's all numbers matching. So when you're buying a car, this is one thing that you look for. They're in different places on A, B, and E's, but for the most part on this generation of B bodies, that's where the VIN number is stamped. So right there, it's A9293788, and that matches the fender tag, everything. It matches all the registration, matches your California license plate. There's those chrome tips that were added. So this is the original trunk seal. You can see the original part number right there. And these trunk weather seals, they just came off a large roll. And so the worker would just peel it off the roll and lay it down. And one thing that when we over restore a car, a lot of times we'll put the seam like dead center, but I almost have never seen an original car with the seam in the dead center, because it just didn't matter. All that mattered is that they came together. So you can see this is about, 5 inches away from the center off to the side. And then since it was on a roll, just a continuous roll, this part number appears several times throughout the roll, the original trunk seal. The latches, or the striker, I would call this a striker, was always in place, but for final adjustment, you can see how it moved a little bit. So original striker had never been removed from the car. They just painted it and then adjusted it. Let's peel up the trunk mat here and see the goods. All right, and the reason these rust is because no matter where you're at, even in California, there is some element of humidity, and the rubber will trap moisture, and there's just no getting around it. And so the moisture just wicks through the paint over time. But this is the original floor. The plugs have never been removed. And here's the fascinating thing about like seam sealer and undercoating, is this was all time sensitive. The worker only had just a minuscule amount of time to apply the seam sealer, and we never see them neat. It's always just really sloppy and fast. So you can see right here, this is where a worker probably wiped it off their fingers. And you can see the brush strokes throughout. And then up there, look at that. It's just like a wide brush stroke that goes right down the center of that. You can see just how absolutely sloppy it is. But it didn't matter. So it was just all about pumping out units. And you can see the sound deadening. One thing about the sound deadening is it was applied to the quarter panels before they were installed on the car. So the sound deadening is clear up to the front of the car, and they always masked it off for the back for the welding and for the marker light. And here's something, if you can catch a picture of it, you gotta go way inside, but see those little red caps on the inside of the taillight bolt, and that was just a protective cap. So when you threw your grocery bags in there, they didn't get ripped. But those little air caps still exist on this car. What else? Same thing on this side. Seam sealer, original clips. That harness has never been removed. And you can tell the seam sealer was still not cured because it has a little bit of the pattern of the trunk mat on there. There's your sound deadening. And then they didn't spray it on the areas around the wheel well because that was all to be welded. So they purposely didn't spray it in the areas that were to be welded. We've got the original spare tire and rim. And this is an original tire to the car. We did go through and check the date code on it. Original spare tire and wheel. And this is the correct configuration for the jack, the hook, and the handle. Do we have the handle in there, Al?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
We don't have the handle, so we don't have the lug wrench. So we don't have the lug wrench, which would actually be pinched right here underneath. And then right here is the original spare tire jacking instruction sticker still in place. Now, a lot of times they would actually write the tire size in like a chalk or a magic marker right in here. And we don't see that in this application. That does it for the trunk. All right, Al, I really appreciate you taking the time to tell the story about the car and discuss the history of it, and hope to see the car back at the shop. We're going to do the carburetors, but I really thank you for trusting me with the car, and it was great.
You're absolutely welcome, Keith. This has just been a great experience working on this car with you. So, and the other projects we've got going. So it's been fantastic.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
All right.